The Hidden Hand of Soul, Book 9, Chapter 11. The Galaxy Under Siege. Personal stories of widespread unraveling. The golden light of the Golden Age flickered, then began to die. From the multi-hued biodomes of Xylos Prime to the vibrant academic spires of New Elysium, the Architect's Protocol, Unified Dissolution 2.0, unleashed its terrifying, multi-layered assault simultaneously across multiple HGA worlds. On Xylos Prime, a former symbol of interspecies collaboration, the intricate patterns of the biodomes began to subtly unravel. Crystalline supports developed slow, systemic fissures. Life support systems, once seamlessly efficient, suffered cascading failures, producing breathable air that subtly induced irrational fear. On public comms, news feeds glitched into distorted, terrifying images, interspersed with xenophobic accusations, turning neighbor against neighbor. The Xylos, usually stoic, succumbed to a profound, paralyzing apathy, their highly ordered minds unable to process the unraveling chaos. On New Elysium, a human-dominated colony, the vibrant agricultural plains withered overnight. Automated food processors produced inert grey paste, their internal logic systematically corrupted. Families huddled in fear, their holographic screens flickering with grotesque images of distorted loved ones, replaced minutes later by messages urging irrational acts of violence against alien populations, subtly inserted by the Architect's new psychological vectors. Panic, interspersed with sudden bouts of profound, listless despair, swept through the populace. At a Thakar trade hub, once a bustling nexus of commerce, data networks crashed, financial records dissolved into meaningless static, and trade vessels, their navigational AIs corrupted, drifted aimlessly. The pragmatic Thakar, accustomed to logic and order, found their minds systematically stripped of coherence, their very will to act unraveling. They sat in vacant, disbelieving silence amidst the collapse of their economic empire. Local HGA security forces and officials were utterly overwhelmed. Their desperate attempts to repair systems were met with systematic, invisible sabotage. Every line of code they rewrote, every circuit they rerouted, was subtly unmade by the Architect's deep system entropic probes. Communication between worlds became patchy, riddled with noise and psychological anti-patterns, turning cries for help into whispers of betrayal. From the bridge of the Valiant II, Admiral Eva Rostova watched the galactic map bleed red. Her guardianship division was stretched to its absolute limit, attempting to coordinate mass evacuations from multiple, simultaneously failing worlds. Spaceports became choked with terrified refugees, human and alien, their faces a tableau of fear, anger, and mounting apathy. The Valiant II functioned as a floating triage center, its medical bays overflowing not with physical wounds, but with shattered minds, victims of rampant paranoia, xenophobia, and profound mental disintegration. Rostova personally directed shuttle after shuttle, her face grim. She met the desperate gaze of a human liaison officer, tears streaming down his face. "Admiral, they're turning on each other. The Architects. They're winning without a fleet. We can't fight this." She felt the profound helplessness, the chilling reality that her powerful fleet, designed for physical combat, was utterly inadequate against this insidious, pervasive attack on reality itself. Lena Sharma, deployed to a multi-species emergency center on a critically affected Xylos world, faced a nightmare of unparalleled devastation. Her empathy, usually a source of boundless solace, was a raw, exposed nerve, overwhelmed by the galaxy-wide tidal wave of fear, confusion, and suspicion. She moved through desperate crowds, her hands radiating warmth, her null energy pulse attempting to create psychic anchors, to rebuild emotional coherence. But it was like trying to hold back a tsunami with her bare hands. She saw hope literally draining from populations, replaced by overwhelming architect-induced apathy or irrational hatred. The architect's entropic manipulation of consciousness was too vast, too pervasive, too insidious. The public could no longer deny the truth. The HGA's explanations of cosmic anomalies were exposed as desperate lies. Fear, betrayal, and a desperate struggle for survival defined their new reality. The Golden Age's facade was not merely cracking, it was violently shattering across the cosmos. The systematic unmaking of society, of order, of minds was underway. A horrifying testament to the architect's chilling pursuit of cosmic simplification. Humanity's reign, and perhaps its very existence, hung by a thread. Book 9, Chapter 12, The War Room's Reckoning, Desperate Countermeasures. Heaven's Gate's strategic chamber, usually a bastion of cool calculation, was a crucible of grim despair. Holographic projections flickered, showing multiple HGA worlds simultaneously unraveling under Protocol Unified Dissolution 2.0. Nexus Prime's slow demise was now a galactic plague. The HGA was bleeding, its golden age shattering, its very existence threatened by the architect's invisible, systematic unmaking. General Armitage, his face a mask of grim frustration, slammed a fist on his tactical console. "We are outmatched. Our traditional fleets are useless. Our emergency response units are overwhelmed by simultaneous crises. They don't attack military targets. They attack order. They attack life, logic, and cohesion itself." He pointed to projections of once thriving colonies succumbing to technological failure and rampant xenophobia. Dr. Aris Thorne and Marco Petrova, slumped over their analysis consoles, seemed to age years with every passing minute. They had poured their genius into countering the architect's refined entropy, but the enemy adapted too quickly. "Their entropic probes are self-modulating, Admiral," Thorne rasped, his voice hoarse. "They learn from our every attempt to filter or neutralize them. They're targeting our most complex systems, our Archangel subnetworks, our terraforming AIs, even the fundamental logical frameworks of our interspecies communication protocols." Marco's technopathy was pushed to breaking point, fighting the subtle dissolution of core HGA systems from within. Maeve O'Connell covered her face with her hands, her empathy a raw, screaming nerve. She felt the galaxy's collective descent into fear, suspicion, and apathy. "The deception is broken, Admiral," she whispered to Jian Li. "The truth has done its damage. We tried to give them peace, but now they are terrified, turning on each other. We have no more narratives to hold them." Ambassador Valerius could only watch the disintegration of his painstakingly built diplomatic networks. Calls from alien allies, once unified, now devolved into desperate pleas for protection, or worse, veiled accusations of human incompetence. The HGA's moral authority was eroding under the weight of its own secret. Jian Li remained outwardly impassive, but her gaze was distant, assessing the impossible choices. Sacrifice entire worlds to create quarantine zones. Abandon populations to their fate to preserve resources for a desperate last stand. The survival of humanity and the nascent galactic civilization now rested on a knife's edge, demanding measures that might betray every value they had fought to preserve. Then, an urgent, high-priority comlink flashed on Thorne's console. It was from the Medusa shipyard's deep research annex. "Thorne! Aris, are you there?" The voice was frantic, crackling with raw energy. It was a lead scientist, a descendant of Anya Sharma's lineage, who had been tasked with pushing the boundaries of paradox physics. "We've done it! We've found the counter! It's not a disruptor.
It's a cosmic inversion field. Thorne's head snapped up, a jolt of desperate hope coursing through his exhausted frame. The cosmic inversion field. It was a theoretical concept, an audacious, almost blasphemous idea that had been shelved for its profound instability and its potential to unravel reality itself. It didn't just disrupt entropy, it inverted it. It took chaos and forced it into spontaneous, accelerated formation of order. We believe it can be contained, applied locally, the scientist continued, her voice trembling with a mixture of terror and triumph. It's a localized, self-sustaining field that fundamentally inverts the architect's entropic principles. It would cause their ordered unmaking to spontaneously generate complexity. It could make their very mantle turn against them, consuming their own structures, their own logic, their own beings in an explosion of unwanted order. The words resonated with terrifying power in the silent chamber. A weapon that turned their philosophical principle of simplification into their undoing. A counterpattern so profound, so utterly illogical from the architect's perspective, that it would force them to confront a reality that defied their every tenet. Jian Li's eyes burned with a cold, desperate fire. Thorne, can it be weaponized? Can it be deployed? Theoretically, yes, Thorne breathed, a flicker of his old intellectual fire returning. It's a gamble, a tremendous one. It could unravel us as well. But if it works, it would be a counter-logic so absolute, it would force the architects to reevaluate our existence. It would make them see us not as mere disorder, but as equals, or worse, as something they cannot comprehend. Armitage's grim face contorted into a tight, determined smile. Then we have a chance. The weight of despair had not lifted, but it was now tempered by a terrifying, audacious hope. The HGA was bleeding, but it had found a new, impossible weapon. A counter-truth to oblivion, forged at the very edge of madness, ready to reclaim its cosmos. Book 9, Chapter 13. Deployment of the ultimate gamble. The chosen few wield the inversion field. The atmosphere aboard the Inversion Blade, a specialized Devil Fleet scout, was thick with the scent of ozone and the palpable dread of cosmic defiance. The chosen few, humanity's ultimate gamble, braced themselves. They were plunging into a sector of Nexus Prime, Chapter 214, undergoing active, systematic unmaking by protocol, Unified Dissolution 2.0. This was their most dangerous mission yet, to deploy the Cosmic Inversion Field, a weapon of such profound instability it risked unraveling reality itself. Entering primary deployment zone, Lyra Chen commanded, her voice steady, despite the Inversion Blade shuddering under the architect's subtle entropic assault. Physical degradation at 47%, psychological distortion 68%. Lyra to Thorne, we are committed. The scene outside the viewport was a nightmare of controlled chaos. Once vibrant biodomes visibly withered, their complex structures simplifying into inert dust. Through the transparent walls, Lyra could see terrified civilians, human and alien, succumb to paranoia, then irrational trust, then profound, smiling apathy, their emotions warping under the architect's precise psychological entropic influence. Activating Cosmic Inversion Field, Marco Petrova rasped, his face contorted in an agony of concentration. His technopathic senses were utterly consumed by controlling the field, a raw defiance of universal law. He felt the universe's inherent resistance, a fundamental aversion to entropy being reversed. He wrestled with the raw paradox, the terrifying risk of spontaneous self-creation within the ship, or of the field expanding wildly beyond control. He was battling universal physics, risking his own sanity to hold the ultimate counter-truth in his mind. "Kalen, deployment vector," Lyra cried, as the ship's sensors screamed with impossible readings. Kalen Rourke's body convulsed, his precognition a torrent of screaming, conflicting probabilities. The universe's natural aversion to inverted entropy created a maelstrom in his mind. He saw moments of terrifying, spontaneous recreation. Inert matter erupting into complex alien flora, broken technology spontaneously reforming into bizarre, functional devices. He battled the chaos, guiding Marco's deployment with agonizing precision. 3 degrees port, now! Target core entropic node Zeta 9, he screamed, fighting the blinding flashes of reversed causality. Lena Sharma was a beacon of desperate stability. Her empathy, battered by the architect's psychological attacks, now fought the profound mental effects of reversed causality emanating from the inversion field itself. She sensed fear turning into manic, irrational joy, despair into ecstatic, unearned hope. She focused her null energy pulse, not just to protect the team's minds from entropic decay, but to stabilize their inner reality, to prevent their emotions and perceptions from unraveling in the face of inverted existence. Finn, roaring with exertion, expanded his resonance matrix to its absolute limit. He was literally holding the boundary between ordered creation and ordered unmaking. Spontaneous bursts of light and matter erupted around the inversion blade as the inversion field reversed local entropy. Finn's shields contained these terrifying localized creations, preventing them from consuming the ship. He was a cosmic dam, holding back the deluge of inverted reality. "Firing inversion field!" Marco yelled, his voice raw with triumph and agony. A silent, impossible wave of inverted entropy washed over the designated target zone. It wasn't an explosion, it was a profound reversal. The architect's entropic influence in the immediate area suffered a catastrophic breakdown. Degrading matter spontaneously reformed with terrifying speed. Unraveling technology clicked back into complex, ordered function. The pervasive apathy and paranoia on the civilian faces below reversed into a bewildering, intense, and often frightening surge of irrational joy, then manic hope, then overwhelming, disoriented confusion. The architects reacted with a cold, philosophical fury. Their entropic fields in the area screamed, not with pain, but with the profound shock of utter logical defiance. Their perfectly controlled unmaking had just been reversed. "Counterfire incoming!" Lyra roared, as refined entropic beams, far more potent than any before, lanced out, now targeting the source of this impossible counterpattern. "Emergency jump!" Marco screamed, pushing the inversion field to its absolute limit for one final, desperate burst of disruptive energy. Finn's resonance matrix flared, deflecting the primary entropic beams. The inversion blade, battered and groaning under the strain of holding such impossible power, quantum folded out of the mantle's reach. They had succeeded. They had deployed the Cosmic Inversion Field. Nexus Prime's complete unraveling was temporarily halted, its local entropic unmaking reversed. But the inversion blade was severely crippled, and the chosen few were utterly spent, physically and mentally. They had wielded a power that truly forced the architects to acknowledge them, not as mere disorder, but as a force capable of fundamental, terrifying defiance. The cost and the implications were immense. Book 9, Chapter 14, The Architect's Cold Fury, Philosophical Crisis and Tactical Reassessment. On Lumina Prime, the collective vibrated with a dissonance unseen in millennia. Data streamed in from Nexus Prime, cold and undeniable. The Human Galactic Authority had deployed a Cosmic Inversion Field, a localized zone where the systematic unmaking of protocol, Unified Dissolution 2.0, was not merely disrupted, but reversed. Matter spontaneously reformed. order erupted from engineered chaos. Life, complex and inefficient, blossomed anew from inert dust. Observer Prime's shifting geometric form pulsed with incomprehension. The counter-pattern defies all logical categorization. It is not merely a resistance to entropy, it is an inversion of entropic principles. It actively creates order from chaos. This is a fundamental violation of universal law. Analyst Gamma projected the anomaly. Their weapon, the Cosmic Inversion Field, is an anti-logic. It mirrors the Genesis Zero weapon that unmade the larger entropy wave, but applied with even greater precision. It is an act of creation from anti-creation. The collective, usually a seamless flow of absolute logic, was fractured by internal debate. This was more than a tactical defeat. It was a profound philosophical crisis. Philosopher core, a rarely active aspect of the collective, resonated with chilling clarity. The HGA entities are not merely disorderly, they are fundamentally anomalous. They do not merely persist despite chaos, they impose order against natural progression. This defies our understanding of the universe's inevitable path towards simplification. They are an existential threat to the very principle of order. Strategist Delta analyzed the inversion field's effects. Our entropic countermeasures, designed to re-establish order from disrupted chaos, are useless against inverted entropy. We must acknowledge this new variable. Their illogical resilience has escalated to cosmic heresy. For the first time in their vast existence, the architects faced a foe that challenged their core tenets, their very understanding of universal order. Humanity was not merely fighting for survival, it was fighting for its right to defy the architect's cosmic philosophy. The cold, logical pursuit of purification was now confronted by a force that championed chaotic creation against their inherent drive for simplification. The collective reached a consensus, a grim re-evaluation of their strategic imperative. There would be no more attempts at subtle infiltration or deceptive overtures. The element of philosophical persuasion was dead. Humanity was an unquantifiable, unpredictable variable that threatened to destabilize the very principles the architects championed. Observer Prime concluded the tactical reassessment. The HGA entities are no longer merely targets for purification. They are a profound anomaly that must be quantified and neutralized by any means necessary. Our previous methodologies are insufficient. We must devise a counter-principle to their anti-logic, a way to reimpose true entropy over their inverted order. Accelerate research into universal reversion protocols. Increase the scale of protocol unified dissolution. Prepare for total imposition of order. The anomaly must be contained. The cosmos will be purified. A new, cold fury resonated through the architects' collective, a logical imperative to utterly erase this profound anomaly that threatened their universal order. The war had escalated into a battle for the very nature of reality, and the architects, pushed to their limits, were now ready to apply absolute force. Book 9, Chapter 15, the architect's first direct assault, Total Imposition of Order. The Golden Age's final vestiges shimmered on the thriving orbital ring of Centauri Prime, a major Thakar trade hub and an integrated HGA strategic asset. Its bustling marketplaces and vibrant multi-species academies were a testament to the peace humanity had forged. Then, without warning, the stars blurred. No hails, no demands, no deceptive overtures. The architect's intent was absolute. A vast, terrifying fleet materialized at the system's edge. Their ships were unlike any HGA intel had predicted. Not merely mantle projectors, but colossal, organic-looking vessels designed to project pure, unadulterated entropic will. Their movements were precise, overwhelming, utterly devoid of emotion. A silent, cosmic tsunami of systematic eradication. From his command station on Heaven's Gate, General Armitage watched the horrifying telemetry. "They're not probing," he rasped, his face grim. "They're purifying. Total imposition of order." Centauri Prime's planetary shields, designed to withstand conventional assaults, glowed for a microsecond before simply dissolving under the sheer, focused pressure of entropic fields. It wasn't kinetic force, it was the targeted unmaking of energy cohesion. The Architect's ships radiated a field that systematically dismantled complex informational patterns.
HGA fleets stationed in the system, upgraded Angel and Devil units, armed with Entropy Disruptor 2.0s, surged forward. Their disruptors lanced out, creating localized pockets of chaos within the Architect's field, causing temporal distortions and informational flux. But the scale of the Architect's entropic projection was overwhelming. The disruptors, effective in surgical strikes, were drowned in a sea of pure, directed entropy. On the bridge of the Valiant 3, a newly upgraded Angel Dreadnought, Commander Anya Sharma watched in horror as sister ships, their entropic resistance plating failing, began to visibly unravel. Consoles dissolved into useless static. Crews, even those fortified by Lena Sharma's methods, succumbed to a pervasive, paralyzing apathy as their very minds lost emotional coherence. "They're attacking the structural integrity of space-time itself," a bewildered tactical officer cried, as Centauri Prime's orbital path subtly, horrifyingly, began to deviate, its complex gravitational relationship with its star slowly unmaking. Armitage issued desperate orders, his voice cracking. "Emergency retreat protocol for all HGA vessels. Evacuate civilian assets where possible. Hold the line regardless of cost." But the words felt hollow. This was not a line to hold. It was a fundamental force being wielded with absolute, genocidal intent. Observer Prime, from its distant command vessel, processed the data. Efforts to resist protocol, total imposition, are within predicted parameters for Class L complex biological entities. Entropic purification efficiency, optimal. Centauri Prime, once a thriving jewel, systematically unmade. Its atmosphere thinned, its oceans became inert chemical soups, its life, its history, its very essence returned to disordered components. HGA fleets in the system vanished, not in explosions, but in chilling, silent dissolution. The Architects moved through the purified space, cold and efficient, their ships leaving behind a void of absolute order. The HGA was left reeling. The Golden Age, already fractured by deception, was now under direct, devastating assault, facing an enemy whose logic dictated absolute eradication. Humanity's struggle for existence had entered its most desperate, overwhelming phase.